Welcome to the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Pluff. Each week, we will cover various topics that dads struggle with in their fitness journey. I'll give you actionable steps that you can apply right away, not only to take back control of your own health, but so you're able to be a better example for your kids too.
As dads, there's really four areas that we really need to master in order to not only, make our own life better, but our families as well. Those are our faith, our family, our fitness, and then our finances. Those are the four main ones. And obviously on this show here, we focus mainly on the fitness aspect of it, but they all matter. We need to give time and attention to all of these. And when one of them is suffering, chances are another one is lagging as well, and it's not being optimized as much as it can. When your fitness is off, obviously that's going to affect your energy. It's going to affect how you show up. So that's going to lead into your family. If we're having health concerns, that obviously affects our finances. And if we're not feeling our best, it's obviously going to affect your faith. It's going to affect your relationship with God. It's going to affect how you show up in the world, right? And so all of these are super important, but the two I want to focus on today are obviously our fitness, but then our finances as well. And money is a very difficult topic for a lot of people, not because people don't make money, but it's something that not a lot of us, and myself included, especially when I was younger, where I didn't manage it very well. And that's kind of what we need to do in all four of these areas. We're stewards. We need to manage them well. And like I said, when one of them is lagging, it tends to affect the other ones. And like I said, we're going to focus primarily on our fitness, but finances are a big part of that. Well, and then obviously that bleeds into family and faith as well. But one thing I find very interesting, especially with dads, and maybe it is maybe it's a guy thing, and for me, I would I don't like to admit this, but it's probably a pride thing as well, especially when I was first married. I tried to handle everything on my own. I felt like that was one way that I could help lead my wife. And so I didn't ask for a lot of help. I didn't need a lot of help. We were both working at the time, and we had money coming in and stuff. But even though we had taken a finance course together and things like this, I primarily did everything on my own, and that's one way she let me lead. But as things went on, we came to the decision together. She would give up her job. We homeschool her. We've got 4 kids. We homeschool our kids. And then I was in charge of not only like bringing in the money, but managing it every day. It got to be a lot, and it was very overwhelming. And there were tendencies that were causing some discontentment, maybe some issues in the fight, some leaks where we could have done a better job at. And if I would have delegated, let go of some of that and stop trying to do everything on my own, stop trying to work a full-time job, run a business, lead the family, do all these things and ask for help, we probably could have been in a much better situation, because those were some of her strengths. And instead of working together, I tried to just shoulder all that myself. And that maybe that was pride, maybe that was my way. I felt like at the time I was doing my best to serve, but ultimately ended up costing us a lot of stress, a lot of time, and a lot of money. And that's obviously a big issue when you're trying to provide for your family. Now, how this ties into fitness is obviously the number one conversation I have with my clients and with potential clients is is this the right program for me? Like when someone's signing up is this the right program for me? Does it make sense financially? And then obviously is your wife on board? Is everybody on board? Because if you're already, struggling with things, if you add finance on top of it, it just makes it much, much harder here. Now, if you have the resources, you're a 2-income household, or if you make plenty of money yourself, finances aren't an issue, then it makes a lot of sense as a dad to hire someone to help you with your fitness, because there are always 2 currencies that, pretty much everything takes. It's either going to be our money and it's going to be our time. And we can never get rid of the time currency. That is always there. No matter what we do, we want to improve our faith. It's going to take time. We want to improve our finances. It's going to take time. We want to improve our fitness. It's going to take time. Now, can we speed up the process? Absolutely. We can always speed up the process, but in order to speed up the process, we're going to have to spend money. So we have to use a second currency there. And so if finances are truly an issue for you, then to get to where you want to be is probably going to take quite a bit longer, because you're going to have to piece things together. Information is free. You can go on Google, you can go on Chat GPT, podcasts, YouTube, social media. All of these things are great ways to learn things, but what's best for you can sometimes take a lot of trial and error. Obviously, hiring a coach can help, expedite that process. And so if you have the luxury of being able to pay for someone to help you in any area of life, if it's a house project, it's whatever, as a dad, as someone who your kids are only going to be in your house for so long, spending the money is probably a wise investment. If I can get to where I want to be, 2 years quicker, I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to be able to use that time to make memories with my kids, to invest in them. You're always investing in something, right? And so we want to, if we have the luxury, if we have the finances, we want to make sure that we're utilizing that well. If you want to redo your backyard, you want to build, this, outdoor oasis for your family, and you can do it yourself and you can save yourself some money, but it's going to take you like a year and a half. Think of all the evenings that's taken away from you from playing with the kids, all the weekends, from spending time with your family, from spending quality time with your wife. If you could hire a company, yeah, you're going to spend more money, but you could have the project done in 3 months, because that's their full-time job. That's what they're going to do. If you're trying to get in shape, you're trying to put together a plan, and you can hire a coach that can help teach you what you would learn on your own in a year, and you can learn everything that they're teaching you in a much short amount of time, and be able to troubleshoot and be able to implement it and be able to see results long term. To me, it's a no-brainer. But as dads, sometimes we get very stubborn. I am the first one to admit, I like to try and do things on my own. I want to try and figure it out. I love to learn. I love to try new things. And so I go on YouTube and I'll do stuff. And there's lots of house projects I will do. But if it's a bigger project, I've learned I need to delegate this, because my number one priority with my family is I want to be there. I want to be present. And I don't want to, yes, I think there's a ton of value in letting your kids see you work and letting your kids see you, do things around the house, taking care of how. I'm not letting anybody cut my yard. The only time anybody's ever cut my yard is when I had hip surgery and I physically could not do it. I had to pay someone to do it, and my father-in-law did it for me once. But I love cutting the grass. That's something I want to do. But we had siding repair on the house. Could I have figured it out? Yes. But I paid somebody because they got it done. That's their job. They got it done much quicker. I had some landscape jobs I needed to do. I could have done it, but I hired someone to get it done quicker because I didn't want to spend all that time researching, running back and forth to Home Depot, doing all these things. I wanted to spend some time. I wanted to use that time in a different way. So you're always going to pay for something with your time. That's a given. Something is always going to take time. How much time that takes, that's up to you. Again, if you have the finances to do some of this, then I would strongly urge you to think about, what are you giving up here? What are you giving up? Is this, say you have 50 pounds to lose right now and you've been trying things for 15 years. The chances of you learning how to figure it out on your own in the next 3 months, if you've struggled for 15 years, are probably not very likely. Could it happen? Absolutely. People are able to lose weight on their own all the time. They don't need to hire for help. But Are your chances of getting there much quicker if you hire a professional? Absolutely, right? If you're trying to add an addition to your house, could you learn how to do everything, go through codes, spend all the time? You absolutely could do that. You are capable of whatever you want to do, right? You are able to do it, but you have to look at the time cost of it. And for me, and I know for a lot of the dads I work with, and for a lot of the dads listening, we want to be with our kids, right? We don't just want to, send them off to school all day and have them come home, have dinner, get them ready for bed, and then maybe see them on the weekend. But on the weekend, you're doing all these house projects, you're doing all these things. And so that's why it's so important to understand where our time is going, because our time is our most valuable resource. You can make more money. If you have a good job right now, if you have a job, you can always make more money. You can never get more time. And so consider that no matter what you're doing, whether that's about thinking about investing in a coach or a house project, or even just whether or not you spend money on something, you can always make more money. I'm not saying don't be wise with your finances. Trust me, I could have been in the past, especially I could have been much wiser on my finances. I had this mindset, it's like, oh, I'm gonna end up making this, I'm gonna do this and stuff, and then all of a sudden, when things come up, we've got 4 kids. I had 2 hip surgeries. My son broke his arm. My daughter dislocated her elbow. It's like all of these things happen in such a short amount of time, and you got medical bills, you got all these things, you've got house payments, you've got all these other stuff. Maybe student loans you're paying off. There's lots of things, but we want to make sure that we're not pushing off a great present for something distant in the future. I think I messed up what I was trying to say about what I'm trying to say is that where a lot of times people are like, oh, I'll go enjoy my time. Well, I'm going to do this. If I had all the money in the world, I had millions and millions of dollars, I never had to work again, what would I be doing? I'm going to spend time with my family. I'm going to try and find, a project or something I'm dedicated to that, I can volunteer my time. I can invest in this. But I get to do that now. We homeschool our kids. I get to do that now. I get to I get to see them throughout the day. I get to have lunch with them. I get to see them when they wake up. Is it harder sometimes working from home? Absolutely, right? But I would never change that. I love that trade-off. I love being home with them, right? I'm able to coach my son's baseball team, help coach my son's baseball team. Go to my daughter's their t-ball, their gymnastics, their whatever they're doing. These are all the things that I would be doing no matter how much money I have. And so why push this off in some distant future that may never come? When they're only young, so long. The majority of the time you will ever know your kids, they will be adults. And so it is so important now that if you have the financial resources to help someone or to get to where you want to be without having to invest so much time into it, absolutely do that. That is going to be the wisest investment you make. Sure, will you not? Maybe you retire with a couple $100,000 less, but like the value we all want it. The average life expectancy right now I think is like 73 years old. If you retire at 68, you're telling me you're pushing off your entire future to go live a life for 8 years? No, we want to enjoy it now. We want to be smart with our finances. We want to be good stewards of what God has given us, but we also want to make sure that this is the time we have now, and we always want to make the best of it.
That concludes this episode of the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. Thank you for those of you who took time out of your busy schedules to listen. If you have any questions or comments or an idea for a topic for a future episode, please feel free to reach out, and I'd love to hear from you.